Welcome to Compound Insights, a podcast by CFA Society New York. I'm your host, Rob Rowan. Today we're talking a little bit about the career path and some things that might be exceptionally interesting to you as members who are thinking about, at this time, how to make your sophistication a little bit higher, your education a little better, and maybe recession-proof your career. But we're not going to have one of those. So today we're talking with Ken D'Souza, CFA. He is chair of the board of CFA Society New York, and he's the managing director and portfolio manager for PGIM Quantitative Solutions, and he works in the quant equity team. He oversees the team there and is responsible for portfolio management, analysis, and research. Now, prior to joining PGIM, Ken was a portfolio manager at Battery March Financial, and prior to Battery March, he was a research development engineer at Shaw Industries, which was a subsidiary of Berkshire Hathaway. In addition to his work at CFA Society New York, he was also involved with CFA Society Boston. He has lectured on financial risk management at Columbia University and has his BS in chemical engineering from Georgia Institute of Technology, MS in both management science and engineering from Stanford University, and an MBA from University of Chicago. And he graduated as the Amy and Richard Wellman Scholar there. So welcome back to the podcast, Ken.
Great. Thank you for having me, Rob. Great to be back on the program.
So today we're talking a little bit about your career path and sort of what things were valuable to you. So can you tell us a little bit about what it felt like when you first thought, hey, I could go work in financial services?
Sure, Rob. Happy to do so. And let me just say, it's not a decision I made lightly. I've really taken anything but linear path into financial services. And to give you a little bit even background before that, I actually grew up in India and Qatar, immigrated to the U.S. by myself when I was 16, to Tulsa, Oklahoma, of all places.
Wow. Okay.
and then did my engineering degree at Georgia Tech
Hmm.
and worked as an engineer in South Carolina for 5 years. At the end of that, what I really loved was analytical work. And so that's when I decided to do my first graduate degree at Stanford University. It was on management science and engineering, and I started to get into decision and risk analysis. I actually wrote my master's thesis on ice hockey sub-strategy,
Really?
this was back when Moneyball was a really hot book, but before the movie with Brad Pitt came out. And there was another co-author of mine who was really interested in ice hockey. Growing up in Qatar, I had literally watched one ice hockey game in my life, so I was just completely interested in the math behind it.
Uh-huh.
And that's where I focused my first master's. But I also had some exposure to financial markets, started to get more interested, and then I did my MBA at University of Chicago. Really got interested in finance, particularly quantitative finance, and pivoted to asset management.
Right. So, well, Chicago is the house that Quant built, right?
Right.
So, yeah. So can you talk a little bit about your journey from there to the CFA exam?
Sure. So I got involved in CFA Society of New York over a decade ago. And initially it was through speaking arrangements or volunteering on the program committee. And then eventually getting on the board itself about 2.5 or so years ago. And then taking on the chair role, it just really felt like the more natural next step. It's my opportunity to give back to a community that has challenged me, shaped me, helped me grow as an individual and also in my career. For me, when it comes to being on the board or being the chair, I really view it as stewardship. And one quote that comes to mind from Ben Graham, who's the
Yeah.
founder, of course, for one of the founders of CFA Society New York, is to plant trees that other men will sit under. I feel like that spirit really resonates with me, and it's what we're trying to do here. It's not about what we build today; it's about laying foundations for what comes next.
Okay. So you were on the board of SQA before you came to the board of CFA Society New York, right?
Oh, also when I was in Boston, I was on the
You were
board
on the
of
board of
CFA
Boston.
Society of
Yeah.
Boston as well. But
Yeah.
yes.
So has your motivation to do these things changed over those roles and years?
I wouldn't say it's changed. I would say it's evolved. And what I mean by that is my role also has changed. My where I am in the trajectory of my career also has evolved. Back when I was at CFA Society of Boston, working with Jeannie and some of the other board members over there.
Yeah.
Some of the work that we did was on member engagement,
Uh-huh.
and me being the quant analyst helped them analyze some data about which members are the most engaged, members are the least engaged, where should we focus some of the resources of the society, and one of the outcomes of that actually was the launching of the Young Leaders Group, which was later also launched at CFA Society in New York. At SQA, we over there we have a much more narrow but stronger focus on the quant industry and the folks within that particular specialty of financial services. And that's also been a great experience. Worked closely with multiple people within that space, arranging events, helping the industry grow and evolve as well. And at CFA Society New York, as I've been more and more involved over the past decade, like I said, it's more about stewardship. When you're on the board, it's ensuring that the organization is moving in the right direction. It's really about oversight, strategy, and so on.
How would you say also that there's obviously a difference in direction, but how would you say the communities, which make up the very important part to members of the network, differ amongst those organizations also?
Sure. So, from my perspective, they're all pretty similar, and that's a perspective I've shared as I've lived across the globe
Right.
as well.
Right.
It doesn't matter if it was whether it was in Qatar or South Carolina or San Francisco and
Right.
Palo Alto. At the end of the day, people are people.
Yes.
Everyone has similar motivations, similar desires, similar objectives. And CFA Society Boston is also one of the largest societies within CFA.
Hmm.
Same, and CFA Society New York also has aspirations to continue to grow its memberships, continue to engage its members.
So let me pivot a little bit into a different question. So you've had this experience at a lot of different, I mean, tip of the hat to those other organizations, right? But how would you advise yourself if you were newly thinking about joining one of these things, or how would you advise a new member of CFA Society New York to take advantage of this with the perch that you have had at all of these places?
Sure. So my advice to any new charter holders or even folks working to get their charter is that this is your organization. It's not just something that you have to join because you've completed the charter or completed the exams. It really take ownership of it, belong to the organization. It's a platform that will evolve as you also evolve in your career. There's a role for you, whether you're at the beginning stage of your career and just looking to take the exams, or whether you're a few decades in and managing multi-billion-dollar portfolios. There's a space for you here to come and help you find your voice, and coincidentally, that's what it has helped me as well over the trajectory of my career.
Okay, so yeah, let's drill down into that for a second. So you think the most valuable thing is finding your voice. Could you say a little bit more about what that means to you, please?
Sure. So the way I think about it for CFA Society New York, and in terms of the benefits, there's three broad benefits. The first is education itself.
Hmm.
We're constantly putting together events that help push the boundaries of finance. We literally have a Future of Finance
Right, right,
series.
right.
We have the AI and Data Science in Finance series. And so members have the opportunity to attend those, learn more about the events themselves, learn how the industry is evolving. The second is mentorship. I always like to say that it takes a village to raise a child.
Right.
Similarly, it takes a community of mentors to help you grow your career. And then lastly, especially when it comes to finding your voice, is opportunities for leadership.
Hmm.
And this is especially helpful for people who are earlier in their career. where there's opportunities to put together events, to source speakers, to help grow the society, to help be a key participant in this exciting demographic that is the CFA Society of New York. And I really want to emphasize that, to remember that we are in New York City. This is the financial capital of the world. You have some of the best and brightest minds within the industry here. And so this is a great opportunity for members to get involved and find their voice.
Fine. So that is very apt from your perspective. But are there any other things that you've seen members gain from CFA New York membership that isn't necessarily something you did, but you also thought, that's a good thing? Are there other things out there that you think they can benefit from?
Certainly, one area where they've benefited from is just within their careers. Like I said, mentorship is a key part of growing your career, learning to ask the right questions, learning the lingo of any particular career. Certainly, as I made the shift from being an engineer to being in asset management, that was an important part of my transition as well. And I've seen other members as well make similar shifts from information technology to finance, from academics to finance, and so on and so forth. And whenever you make a career transition or whenever you enter into a new industry, a key part of being successful is just learning the vernacular,
Yep.
being able to speak the same language that everyone else is speaking within that industry. To use one very simple but almost silly example, I still remember someone saying, "Never ever refer to your clients as customers. Grocery stores have customers,
Right.
financial industries have
Of
clients."
course. I
Just
never thought
something,
about that.
yeah, just
Yes.
something as simple as that, just to ensure you use the right vernacular within the industry.
Yeah, well, that is that is wild. Do you have any advice for people who are looking at their CFA New York membership now, a time of massive amount of uncertainty about the marketplace and therefore about the job market, about how they use the CFA New York community?
Sure. So when it comes to people who are looking at the charter themselves and looking at the exams themselves, one thing that I don't want to downplay is the challenge of getting the charter. It's three exams. At least when I took those exams about 16 or so years ago, I remember it was like 200 to 300 hours per exams,
They're still saying
and they're still saying that. So
that.
it's still quite a challenging process. And the way I view it is that I'm firmly within the camp that I'm glad that it is remains a challenging process. So I like you had mentioned, I manage a team of portfolio managers and analysts as well. And for the ones that have done their CFA, or the ones who, or the folks that I know who are working at CFA, I view that as a strong positive.
Mhm.
And the reason I do so is I know that this person is motivated enough to spend the 200 to 300 hours on the weekends, on the nights after their job to really commit and push themselves to get that charter done. The equivalent example I like to compare it to is like companies paying dividends.
Okay.
Companies paying dividends also tend to have a stronger valuation
Right.
and viewed positively by the market because those companies have that discipline
Right.
associated with continued betas. So that's just the way part of my calculation. I continue to see it as a very, very positive signal from a candidate or from an employee when they put in those hours and that dedication and that work on their free time to complete the charter. And then once you do so, you have access to this great community and this great network that I talked about.
Yeah, I mean, that is one of the things that it's always, I've heard it described as a sign of grit.
Yes. Yeah.
um, well, perhaps we should leave it there because I'm sure that last thing you just mentioned is someone everyone who's listening to this podcast is experienced and is warming to. So, so thank you for being here, Ken.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me back, Rob.
And thanks to everyone for listening to this podcast. So, if you want to hear a little bit more about some insightful views into the market, including some dividend paying stocks, please do consider attending the Ben Graham conference that we have coming up on June 26th. It is an exceptionally regular one that you all know. It's a whole day over at Fordham University. and it's going to be a really interesting look at where valuations are now. So please take a look at CFA New York's website and sign up for that event. Until next time, I'm Rob Rowan, and this has been Compound Insights.